I think he's on the political take. He's welded to her. She hates crypto. He is a representative of hers, even though he taught crypto and liked things like Algorand when he was an MIT professor. I also think, as you mentioned, SBF, he met with him a few times, and I think he embarrassed him. And I think SBF in general, given the amount of money that he gave to the political community in Washington, has embarrassed a lot of them.
Anthony Scaramucci is an American entrepreneur, financier, politician, and cryptocurrency bull who actually knew Gary Gensler, the SEC chair, back in Gary's Goldman Sachs days.
I did. I knew Gary. I mean, Gary was roundly disliked at Goldman. He was like one of these sanctimonious, righteous people.
In today's interview, Scaramucci shares insider knowledge on Sam Bankman-Fried, Gary Gensler, and BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF.
Could I ask you about the BlackRock ETF from the point of view where you're going to be going in with it with them?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it's public now. Yes, I filed a public document. So I was the first outside investor in the BlackRock ETF.
That's right. Insider knowledge. Scaramucci knew Gary Gensler at Goldman Sachs, is currently in with BlackRock on their spot Bitcoin ETF, and as we began today's interview, Scaramucci was fielding phone calls from journalists regarding whether he will take the stand in the SBF trial due to the fact that Sam Bankman-Fried still owns 30% of his company, Skybridge Capital. Listen.
No, we have no money at that exchange. We never did. We just had an investment from them into our company, which we're now working out with the bankruptcy estate. Off the record and not for attribution, but you can say sources close to the situation know that I am not testifying. I did spend about 4 hours with the Department of Justice, and they said they do not need my testimony for the case. So my name was brought up yesterday in the court, primarily because the defense counsel was looking out for Sam and screening out people that knew me personally, because I've been very public that I think he's a fraud. I hope that's helpful. Okay, we can talk about all that on your podcast, by the way, but anyway.
I was wondering. That's great.
Yeah.
You want to just jump right into it?
Yeah, I mean, if you want, if we're recording already and you're already going to be using this, there was a journalist asking me about, did I have any money on the FTX exchange? I never did.
Let's jump right into it. Like this video, share this video with everyone you know. We also talk cryptocurrency, housing market, recession, crypto price predictions. The great Anthony Scaramucci reveals all in this interview. Let's pick it up where we left off. Exactly what are the details of your business relationship with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX? Explain.
There was a journalist asking me about, did I have any money on the FTX exchange? I never did. Money was given to Skybridge, okay, and in exchange for ownership in Skybridge. But now we're negotiating with them to buy back our stake. But of course, Sam and FTX did significant damage to us, so we actually have a fraud claim against them. So we're in the process of negotiating, and I'll predict that we'll get our stake back and life will go on. But I was mentioned in the court yesterday, and so people are wondering if I'm going to be a witness to the case, and I'm not, because as I told the Department of Justice, I don't have any smoking gun information on Sam. I turned over my text messages and my emails and my Signal account. I have nothing to hide. No smoking gun on Sam. I did talk to them about what I saw, but it wasn't close enough to the blast zone. I was brought up in the courts yesterday. Witnesses were asked. It was a joint statement from defense. They don't want to tip anybody off where it's coming from, but it was a joint statement between defense and the prosecutors of a list of questions for jurors. One of them was, did they know me? They listed me among a couple of other people. But I think, and this is an opinion, it's not fact, I don't know for sure, but I believe my name was brought up because I've been very public about saying that Sam committed a fraud. And if somebody knew me personally, they wouldn't want that juror to be on the jury, or that potential juror to be on the jury, because they would be overly biased. So that's what I was explaining to that journalist. And I've been, listen, you and I got to know each other a little bit. We were in the the killer whale war. Okay, I'm a pretty upfront guy. I don't have to hide anything for that matter, you know. And I tell my kids, you want to speak with high integrity and be as upfront as possible. When you do that, you always get tremendous amounts of opportunity thrown your way.
Totally. And appreciate you coming on, keeping it real with us. And, of course, what you're talking about, the Sam Bankman-Fried trial, kind of capturing everybody in crypto and outside of crypto's eyes and ears right now.
Mm-hmm.
I love like criminal psychology. You were partnered with him for a while. He was at one point going to have 30% stake in Skybridge.
Yeah, he has it. Well, they do. They
it.
still have it. Yeah, we're in the process of trying to get it back. Yeah, he bought 30. So the good news is he wanted to buy more, and I slowed that down. This has been my life's work. And so he had the right to buy the other 70% over a 3-year period of time. Of course, that's not going to happen now, but I like Sam. I know, look, I mean, here's the problem. I read Michael Lewis's book over the weekend. I got an advance copy. I'm friends with Kevin O'Leary. They are defending Sam. The book is an apology letter and a letter to the jury about Sam. If you read the book, I like those men. I disagree with them, though. I think Sam committed fraud. And if you're talking about the way a criminal mind works, Sam equivocated his do-gooderism, and Sam equivocated his ADHD and his sloppiness and his disorganization, okay, as a cover for the crimes that were being committed. You can't have $8.8 billion of your customers' money in your personal account. No matter what your excuse is for that, you cannot do that. Now, I think his sentence will be lighter than people expect because he's a young man. And I think one thing he could plead to, which may resonate with people, is that while that's completely wrong and very illegal and a criminal act, I think what he can plead to is that he as explained in the Michael Lewis book, the only way you could get those bank accounts open for those account holders is by putting it through Alameda. Okay. And so he's going to suggest that he's going to assess that, oh, by the way, if you look at the assets and liabilities of this company, when the bankruptcy estate is done, they'll have more assets than there are liabilities. So that's what he's going to offer up as two defenses. And he's going to then say that, his youth and inexperience led him to make these miscalculations. So I predict he gets a more lenient sentence than some of the people would like him to. And since it's linked to crypto, what upsets me the most about the case is that it's not about crypto any more than Bernie Madoff was about the hedge fund industry. If someone's committing a fraud, they can do it in the pharmaceutical industry, they can do it in a law firm, they can do it at a hospital. It's just fraud is fraud. And so unfortunately, it's tainting our industry. It's hurt the cryptocurrency markets. It certainly hurt tokens like Solana because they had to unwind huge positions that Sam had in Solana and so forth. Hopefully that selling's over now, although I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming it is. But you get my point. It's Aaron, it's one of these things where a bad actor can really have a seismic repercussion throughout the whole industry.
Now, what's your take on Gary Gensler and his relationship with SBF? You met with him a couple of times. You actually knew Gary back in the day, I believe.
I did. I knew Gary. I mean, Gary was roundly disliked at Goldman. He was like one of these sanctimonious, righteous people. Back in the day, he was a little bit more practical. I think he reflected more of President Clinton's ideas. He went on to become the CFTC chairman, I think, under Obama, but he worked for President Clinton. He's been a part of the Democratic Party process in and out of appointed officialdom in Democratic administrations. But I think he's gotten, as he's gotten older, a little bit more arrogant and a little bit more self-righteous. And I think he's welded to Senator Elizabeth Warren. It's my belief that Warren, Buttigieg, and others who dropped out of the 2020 primaries to give then Vice President Biden a chance to beat Bernie Sanders in South Carolina and ultimately go on to the nomination of the party, I believe that they cut deals. And one of those deals was Elizabeth Warren was going to have a lot to say about financial services, banking regulation, and crypto is in that universe. And so it's fascinating to me. She hates crypto, and she sends out things that she has an army of people that's going to defend the American public against crypto. That would mean you and me, my brother. And so Gary's in her camp. He got that job because of her. And so they're like the Batman and Robin, or the Batman and Batgirl of crypto. They're driving around in the anti-crypto mobile, chasing people. And the great news for the United States is that our founders, in their wisdom, spread out the power. And so they're getting roundly defeated in the court system. And I think that is something that is very telling. And I think it's also the benefit of the U.S., this diffusion of power. Just imagine if Gary was a totalitarian or an autocrat, how much power he would have, how much damage he could do to the digital asset space or the U.S. economy with this kind of recklessness. So I don't know if he's lasting another 6 months, 2 years, 4 years. I don't know, but he'll be a problem for our industry for a while. And it sucks because there's no need for it. We could have propitious regulation, transparency, possibly self-regulatory organizations. But he's really causing us a problem, Aaron, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
Right.
But I mean, the Republicans, there's 50 plus million people that own crypto. So the Republicans are going to start to play that card, I believe.
And as an outsider looking into like the SEC regulatory state of the crypto world, it almost seems like Gary Gensler is so narrow-minded when it comes to crypto regulation, because you look back at his MIT teachings from 2018, he seems to get crypto early on before a lot of other people did. My question is, he just seems so narrow-minded. Do you think why do you think he can't just like open his mind? Is it the money? Is it the connections? Do you think he's on the take or what?
I think he's on the take. I think he's on the political take. I think he's welded to her. She hates crypto. He is a representative of hers, even though he taught crypto and liked things like Algorand when he was an MIT professor. He hates all things crypto. Now, I also think, as you mentioned, SBF, he met with him a few times, and I think he embarrassed him. And I think SBF in general, given the amount of money that he gave to the political community in Washington, has embarrassed a lot of them. And so the pendulum regulatorily swung very hard against the industry as sort of punishment for this embarrassment. Okay. And so it's nonsensical. It's just not good common sense. It's not good policy. But I don't think he's on the take, meaning someone's paying him off, but I do think he's on the political take. I think his career is tied to her, and she hates crypto. And so he represents that.
Let's zoom out as we're looking at cryptocurrency. We just kind of talked about the past, but let's try and look towards the future, because I mean, I'm not sure your feelings. What's your take on cryptocurrency today and kind of going forward?
No. The reason I'm hesitating is that I am a big time bull. Okay. I'm obviously a big time bull in Bitcoin. I have positions in things like Ethereum, Solana. I own Algorand. You and I talked about that on the show. I have a smaller token called Vulcan Forge that I have an ownership stake in. So I'm a big time long-term bull. However, what I do tell people, and this is the reason why I respect you and your brother, you got to do the homework. If you're not willing to do the homework, don't make the investment, because the space is so new. And if I was qualifying the space and using an example of the internet, Web 1, I would say that we have 4% market saturation globally, which is equivalent to where the internet was in 1998. So just think about the last 25 years and how much wealth has been made and how much of a transformation there's been in the society as a result of the internet. We're having this call over the internet. Now, this call could not have been made in 1998. We didn't have the bandwidth or the technology or the chip speed to process this call. But my point to you, and I really want you to think about this, is 10 years from now, think about where we'll be. 25 years from now, think about where we'll be. But if you followed Web 1 from 98 to 2023, you had a lot of this, lots of volatility, boom bust cycles. And of course, you had naysayers and people that got wiped out, right? And so that's going to happen. There's 20,000 coins. You tell me, Aaron, how many of those are going to be here 25 years from now? I don't know. My guess is it won't be 20,000. I don't think it will be any more than, pets.com made it, or, I can name so many things that had .com on their names 20 years ago, didn't make it, but Facebook made it. Google made it. Amazon made it. Microsoft reinvented itself, had a big piece of the web, and now has a big piece of the cloud, and now a big piece of AI. It made it. So to me, I'm wildly bullish, with the caveats that there's going to be lots of volatility and that people have to make informed decisions. If they don't make informed decisions, they'll get scared. I watched my Bitcoin position go from 69,000 to 16, didn't sell a Bitcoin. Now, you could crucify me for that, but I was accumulating. I was buying on the way up. I was buying on the way down. And guess what? I bought last week. So, I'm buying it, trying to get my Bitcoin exposure up over a 3 to 5 year period of time. And I'm not looking at the day-to-day price, and I'm not going to let the day-to-day price juke me out of it or, get me so exuberant that I sell it at the bottom or sell it at the top. I'm just going to keep buying it. Make sense?
Makes sense to me. Long-term bullish. In the short term, expect volatility. And I guess thinking more short to mid-term, thinking about the next couple of years, to me, it seems like the crypto industry is so tied to, traditional markets. And you are a traditional finance guy.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, 2024, U.S. economy, bullish or bearish? Should we be preparing for a recession, or is that overblown, or is the housing market going to take everything down with it?
So just for everybody's benefit, housing is very important because, 60% of our small businesses are tied to housing. And so just go to your local Main Street. There's a hardware store, there's a plumber, there's a electrician, a sheetrock installer, there's a Subway or a delicatessen that serves these contractors and subcontractors throughout the day. Do you know what I mean? So I could give you a list of all these businesses that are tied to housing. And so you get 7.5%, 8% mortgage rates, which takes us way back. You're going to freeze a lot of people. So if my mortgage is 2 5/8 and got booked sometime in 2019, and I want to move and I need to borrow, I'm now going to borrow at 8%. So either I'm moving into a house smaller than the one I'm in, but if I'm moving to a house larger than what I am, I'm picking up a lot of interest to buy that house, right? And so I think it's going to slow down that market. And if it slows down the market, new construction slows down, contracting slows down, all those small businesses I've referenced slows down. So yes, I think we're going to hit a recession. We're going to hit a rough patch, probably in the first quarter of next year. And I think the Fed is going to be forced to cut rates, pause rates. Things are glowing hot right now, but remember, this data lags, and this inflation and this interest rate cycle is going to put a dampener on the economy. So rates get cut, there'll be more risk capital flowing into the business community. That'll be really good for Web3. That'll be really good for altcoins and Bitcoin.
And this recession, is this really going to take Bitcoin and Ethereum, down far, or how do you see that, the relationship between crypto and if we get a recession?
So I think it's going to help. Let me explain to you why. Lower rates means more capital because you have more risk capital flowing. If I can earn 7.5%, I'm a pension fund or an endowment, and I can set up a mortgage-backed security portfolio that earns me 7 to 7.5%. Why do I need to be in venture or other things? You see what I mean? But when that rate goes to 3%, and I got to get a 7% bogey, I've got to go into stocks, bonds, crypto, venture, et cetera. So the money flows into more risk-based assets. The other thing I would say is that there are certain macroeconomic factors that are going to help digital assets and digital properties. Number one, we mentioned Gensler. He hates Bitcoin. He hates crypto, but he's lost almost every case that he put up this year. He just got denied on the Ripple case. He tried to appeal it. The judge said, sorry, no can do. Well, it'll be interesting to see if he goes to appeal the Grayscale case. It'll be interesting. Where's he going to go? The Supreme Court? So those 6 conservative judges are going to side with Gary Gensler? I don't think so. So he's just delaying everything. And so you're going to get a Bitcoin ETF. BlackRock believes this. You're going to get a Ethereum ETF. And those are going to drive value. And then, of course, you have the Bitcoin halving coming. Sometime in April of this year, you're going from 900 coins to 450 per day. And that's going to lead to a price increase, because as supply of an asset and demand gets constrained and more players enter the space, it will push the price up. So I'm bullish one way or the other.
And the great BlackRock-sized elephant in the room is BlackRock. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but you are, what's the way to describe it? You're in on the BlackRock spot ETF.
Yeah, so I was I think I was the original outside investor in what is known as the BlackRock Bitcoin Trust. So the younger guys that were talking to Larry Fink about getting into Bitcoin, they came to one of my conferences, explained to me and my partner Brett Messing what they were doing. And they said, well, we really do need an outside investor. BlackRock's going to put up some of its own money, but we really do need an outside investor. And I then said, let's do this. And we wrote a $10 million check into that trust. And so we were the first outside investor. I think they have more now, but when that gets converted into an ETF, Skybridge will have a position in the BlackRock ETF.
And give us the, the tea on what exactly is going on. Is that coming soon? What do you think?
So I don't know. I am not as bullish as some of these enthusiasts. I see some of them on CNBC saying that the month of October is going to be a big one. We've just started this month, but people believe that we're going to get an ETF in October, a cash Bitcoin ETF in October. If not in October, certainly by the end of the year. I don't see it that way. I think this is a first half of 2024 thing. I think, unfortunately, Gensler is going to try to exhaust everything he can to delay it as long as possible before he actually approves it. But I do think it gets approved because I think that Grayscale court case was seminal, and I don't see how Gary or his team gets around that court case.
And final question on BlackRock, just for the people at home who don't really understand what a spot Bitcoin ETF, particularly like by BlackRock, means. Is everybody in crypto says it's like the great savior for price. Is it that big a deal, or how big a deal is it?
Well, I think it's a huge deal. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Bitcoin bull. I'm going to give you the empirical data as to why it is. Number one, 35 years on Wall Street. And what do we know about Wall Streeters? Products are sold, they're not bought. There will be an army of people, salespeople, financial consultants, financial advisors, private bankers that will have digital assets as part of their long-term tactical capital allocation portfolios. BlackRock's not going to have $13 trillion under management and have $0 under management in Bitcoin. They're just not going to do that. So what's going to end up happening is you'll have armies of people selling this to people. And then people will say, okay, well, what's your strategy? I'm going to have this much in stocks, this much in bonds, this much in real estate, this much in private equity. Well, what's your digital asset strategy? Well, I'm going to have 0.5% to 2% in digital assets. So think of the magnitude of that. If there's $100 billion that flows into Bitcoin, the guys at NYDIG or Fidelity think that could have a 11 times factor in terms of valuation. So you could see Bitcoin go from a $600 billion asset to a $6 trillion asset. And by the way, if that were to happen, it'd still be half the price of gold.
And then just, while we're here, your price outlooks for Bitcoin and Ethereum in the next couple of years, the next cycle.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, I've been so wrong about this, and you should probably just do whatever I say in the opposite. Okay. So I believe, 12 months after the halving cycle, no reason why Bitcoin couldn't be at $100,000. Just given what I know about demand and given what I know about the cycle and where the miners are and so forth. And plus we may get some interest rate relief. And again, that's a 3x bump. That's happened in the world of technology all over the place. So it certainly could happen to Bitcoin. Ethereum, I'm not as close to, although we do have a position in. Could Ethereum be 4,500 by then? Why not? It's a great utility. Speeds have improved. The layer 2s have helped it. Why not? Why couldn't it be 4,500? So, and these things are, they're maturing. Somebody said, wow, Bitcoin's 14 years old. I said, well, it's the youngest asset. If you look at global market capitalization, Microsoft, Berkshire Hathaway, Google, Bitcoin is the youngest asset to be in that league. And the other thing I told people is just think about it this way. The plane was invented by the Wright brothers in 1903. 14 years later was 1917. And there were still many people in the world of aviation poo-pooing the concept of commercial aviation, where civilians were going to be flying back and forth over Europe. Remember, we didn't have Charles Lindbergh until 1927, right? That's 24 years after the invention of the airplane. So we have to put things in perspective as it relates to adoption.
And besides Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto in general, obviously, as you mentioned earlier, you're known for being an Algorand bull.
Yes.
But the SEC has, come down on Algorand and a whole host of other different altcoins. Are you still as bullish on Algorand today?
I'm bullish. I mean, when you say as bullish, I thought at $1, it could have easily gotten to $5. I've gotten this wrong. The thing is trading at 9 or 10 cents. So we went through a horrific bull market. Algorand as a layer 1 took it harder than other layer 1s. And so, but could Algorand from here, because remember, we can only price ourselves today. We can't go back into the past. Could it be a 30-cent token as they continue their development and continue the adoption of what they're doing and bringing in corporations that love the technology? I believe it can. I didn't sell my shares because I see it as a package. I see it as a portfolio of securities. And so while I got that run wrong, I think we've done reasonably well in Bitcoin. Our average cost in Bitcoin is $17,000. We did reasonably well in Ethereum. That's in the $700-800 range. We're probably a little underwater in Solana. We're probably underwater in Algorand. But my point is if I step back and look at the whole picture, even though we had a very difficult 2021, I think I like where we are right now. I'm sorry, we had a difficult 2023. We actually had a good 2021. I like where we are coming towards the end of 2023.
Appreciate you keeping it real and, talking about what's actually going on. Mr. Wonderful gets on TV and like a Trump, he's always winning. So, it's nice to, hear you.
Hey, listen, I've won and lost. Okay. I'm not a guy to tell you that I'm always winning. I like Kevin a lot. We disagree a little bit on what happened with Sam. I certainly disagree with Michael Lewis on what happened with Sam. And, listen, it's a heartbreaking story. My mother saw me on CNBC the other night, and she said, you feel sorry for that kid, don't you? And some of my clients are mad at me that I feel sorry for him because they think he's a psychopath. And so how could you feel sorry for him? But there is a part of me, Aaron, that does feel sorry for him. I feel like he either made a big mistake in judgment, or he didn't have enough controls, or he had this almost like the Superman or messianic complex that he could overcome whatever, I'm doing this over here in the back office, but I'll fix it. And then by the time I get it fixed, no one will know about it. No one will be worse for the wear. Do you see what I mean? It never works. It never works like that. You can't do it. It's not worth it. You can't do it. Your integrity is way more important than the money.
Speaking of Mr. Wonderful, Shark Tank's Mr. Wonderful, did you have a chance to tell Kevin about our show, Killer Whales, the Web3 version?
Yes, I've talked to Kevin about it. I talked to a few of those guys about it, and they wish us well. Shark Tank's got a 15-year run,
right?
And I don't know. I know Killer Whales is going to have at least a 1-year run, and I hope you and I are back for season 2, my brother.
Hell yeah. And of course, I'm a huge fan of Shark Tank. We've had Mark Cuban on the channel, hugely inspirational to me.
I love these guys. I love Mark. I love Kevin. I love Barbara. I know them all well.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you inviting me on today, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience.
Stay long. You're going to be wrong short term, but you're going to be right long term. And so you have to have the stomach for this stuff. Continue to read and learn about it and stay long and recognize that things that change the world, they don't change it overnight immediately. But if you have a product that works better than the other products, and you have something that's cheaper and faster and more innovative, it generally gets adopted. So be patient, stay long, and stay motivated.
Cool. Appreciate your time, Scaramucci. You're the man.
All right, brother. I'm going to see you on the air. I can't wait for Killer Whales.
Yeah, me too.
Bye-bye.